Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
Fellas, it's gonna be one of them nights.
It's gonna be. I'm telling you. Man, another Tuesday night at 9, Prototype Dad in the building, man. And we got an interesting conversation here today. We're going to talk about some fun things, man. And with this election coming around, I see a lot of people jumping on both sides of the fence, and we just got to figure it out. Why are we all like stretched in so many different directions? And I feel like there's a lot of different confusion. But I think the ideologies between everybody is really what's making a huge difference in what's important and the coming of age story. I don't want to necessarily say coming of age, but I made it and now I'm different. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what this is about. So I want to welcome our guest of the day, man, Mr. Jim Chavis.
What's up? What's up?
Man, we welcome you, man. Like I said before, Jim was one of those guys that kind of helped me as a youth and helped me stay on track. Just one of those positive things, the community, you know what I'm saying, that I needed. You know what I mean? That, just made me like, maybe there's something more to this. And, and the difference was like, you know how like in those situations with all them counselors, it's hard to find people you identify with. You know what I'm saying? And it was just so strange that my particular team all was like my favorite uncles. Like y'all met Wayne, you know what I'm saying, Jim, and there was another guy, Tim Powell. And I actually ended up being pseudo related to Tim. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like so my godfather was actually like a second cousin of his.
Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? So it was wild. Like, I mean, we found that out later down the line, but we were just like, wait, you're connected to who and who? So it was just a beautiful thing, man, and I appreciate y'all dearly. But yeah, man, let's get into the first question of the day. What kind of news have y'all experienced in the last 2 weeks that we should be knowing about? So we kind of say what news we have, and then we go into what kind of things we're feeding ourselves with, like our mind, body, spirit, that type of stuff, and then we actually go into the topics. So what news is out there, Jim, that you've seen that we should know about?
Oh man, right now, my heart is really stuck on this sister that was murdered by that cop. Sandra was her name. Anybody got the name of that sister? I should know it.
Sonia Massey.
Sonia Massey, yeah, man. That I mean, just the graphics of that is just insane. A brother asked me about a week before I heard of that. He said, "Do you think we're through that? You know, the black cops killing black people?" And I was telling him I hope so. I really didn't know, but I thought things were getting in check. Man, as soon as I said that, here comes that video of her getting murdered there. So, it just kills me, man, because it seems endless. And to hear how that dude was kicked out of the military, got a job as a police officer, I'm like, this is insane. Isn't there no vetting to keep these dudes out of there? So here we go again.
I think the police force, though, they're always hiring. That's one of those positions nobody wants to be. They're always hiring. I know, especially in Atlanta, like you always see, like, looking for police. Nobody wants to be a police officer.
Nobody wants to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough job and very little pay. So I get it. So they're not really turning too many people away unless you're already certified crazy or whatever. I'm getting myself in trouble, but I would say there's not a lot of training that comes in with it as well. So
do you pay them more? is the solution to give police officers a higher salary to attract better
Yes, better
talent.
talent. So in that's only part of it. Because I remember I used to back when I was in aviation. I remember I used to say that all the time. They said I'd be like, "Oh, Mr. Mo Better, why don't you get us more pay or whatever?" And I was like, "Actually, I'm working on it." But I used to always tell them, I said, "This money isn't going to change who you are. It's just going to change who I attract because you are who you are. If I give you $2 more, you still going to slack off. You still going to cut corners. But if anything, I'll be able to attract a more disciplined, a more professional worker. So it's actually gonna make things harder on you.
Yeah.
It's I just think there's history in a lot of these dudes that could have been vetted prior. I know I wouldn't have hired them from what I hear for any job.
They well, I won't say it in every police force because I'm not sure, but I know dang well in our neighborhood, if you served in the military, you're prioritized. Like you go to the top of the list.
Right.
Yeah, that's the whole civil service deal. Yeah.
Yeah, you go to the top of the list of being a police officer. And so yeah, and I don't know what the if they suppress your record, your military record or whatever when you come out, as long as you are whether they just have it as simple as don't know what that was, but whether they have all your negative stuff or whatever it is. But yeah, a lot of these
if
guys,
you're honorably discharged, if you're honorably discharged, they're not going into.
They just clear you. They don't give you all the negative stuff that was in your file. So yeah, they just go straight through, man. And they, like I said, they go to the top of the list. So a lot of these guys who might have been troublemakers, but they were honorably discharged, they're still in a local police department near you.
Man, it's scary. You brothers still get like the jitters of a police officer nearby and you're driving down the road and you just feel like looking out the back window?
No.
I still find myself doing that.
Yes. Literally, I just came back. I just flew back from Panama and we come get our car or whatever and we driving back home. Red and blues got behind me. I still got that anxiety. I still there's some things that just don't leave you. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like I don't get to show my W-2 and be like, hey, I'm one of the good ones. Like,
right.
that ain't they ain't worried about that. So perception is reality.
I'm always wondering where I gotta put my hands if I get pulled over because these dudes are quick at the trigger.
Yep.
My son's military, he got pulled over because he had his shooting targets in the back seat.
No, I don't get that. It's like the moment I left Pittsburgh, all those like fairs were all gone. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like I'm not there no more. I know Swissville, how you know what I mean, or how it used to be Edgewood riding through there. We know what home has to offer, but like when I'm in a place they don't know me, I don't feel that special for them to target me. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I feel about it. Leifer, what kind of news you got?
Man, I think the last time we we convened, we were talking about the last time I forget what we was talking about. The last
thing was Trump when Trump
when he got hit. That was the last thing we were talking about. And now the new thing is Biden stepping down, doing the responsible thing and stepping down and whether it's the best thing or not, Kamala Harris stepping up. So I think that's the big thing going on in the news right now. I haven't really been following it. It's just it's on every news feed, so you can't really ignore it. So
yeah, that's a big one.
So that was kind of the first thing that came to my mind, but the fact that Leifer actually mentioned it, so I'll go another direction with it. So obviously, the fact that Kamala, that Biden stepped down and he won't be running for re-election. So obviously but what stems off of that for me was the level of support that, let's just be honest, that, Greeks and Black folks have put behind her. That's the thing that I've been really monitoring. And I'm like, I try not to do too much politics, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, why are you voting for her? And a lot of what I'm getting is about identity politics. and it doesn't sit well with me. So I would imagine we'll probably get more into that. But the fact that she looks like us, or she does some things that we do, or she pledged some of the things that we identify with, gets her our vote. It disturbs me a little bit, but I think we'll probably talk about that a little bit more later.
All right, man, I really don't have any like new news other than those are the big things. The Olympic stuff, people's going crazy about as far as it being paganized. Like that's the Christian news that they're trying to uproar.
Is that what the Last Supper thing? I didn't see that, but I keep hearing about it.
But it was actually mocking another actual pagan thing. It wasn't mocking Christian. It wasn't mocking the Last Supper at all. It was mocking something else. And then there's you know how you go down that wormhole of conspiracy theories, bro. Like so there's another thing where it's like they're calling it like, oh, you see the in Revelations they said there's going to be like a white ghost that brings death with them and all that, and they're trying to say that they're imitating that as well. So that's the only kind of news that everybody's been kind of attacking. Those things like, oh, this is that, or it's just it is what it is. I'm not tripping. So the next topic is what are you feeding yourself spiritually, mentally, emotionally? What are you feeding your soul with? What books are you reading? What music are you listening to? Jim, you up?
Yeah, the one I'm into right now is the Clay Kane's book, The Grift. I don't know if you heard it. Clay's a radio host on Sirius XM 126, and it's a non-fictional account of basically people who, let me put it this way, who will speak out on an agenda, but they're really against you. Let me give you one. Clarence Thomas. So he points out how Clarence Thomas, on one hand, benefits from, as you guys know, all the affirmative action stuff, but then he gets up there in the Supreme Court and he's like, no, we don't need that.
Right, he's the poster child for it.
Yeah. Ben Carson, another one. And he just goes down the list. He even exposes this is a deep one, Abraham Lincoln, where he says Lincoln, he really didn't want to free slaves. That's the truth. And so here we got this big statue of him as the great emancipator, but the reality, in his own words, and this guy did some fabulous research, he says Lincoln was like, the black man will never be equal to the white man. So we've been taught in our educational system that, oh, thank you, Mr. Lincoln. The only reason Lincoln did it was to win that damn war. He negotiated, and if anybody should be given credit, it would be Frederick Douglass.
Talk about it.
True.
So he readdresses some of this, and it's that whole thing, that stuff that they don't want us to know the truth.
And that's in that book.
Yeah, The Grift.
That's a
bestseller.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Yeah, so that's I'm about to purchase it right now. So look, I wanted to so I'm gonna give y'all the whole title of the book. It says The Grift: The Downward Spiral of Black Republicans from the Party of Lincoln to the Code of Trump.
Mm-hmm. It's right on.
I just added it to my cart.
Good job.
That's it. That's one I need to read.
Yeah, it's enlightened me. But it's all the things you might have been suspicious of. It's just some more confirmation. Man, talks about what's the boy down in South Carolina? I love Trump. It's like, man, these dudes will sell their soul to put themselves in a position that they win. But it's really, no obligation to their community. They definitely winning. When you line up with Trump, you can win for you.
That's what the topics are. What you got, Lee? What you feeding your spirit?
I don't know about my spirit. I mean, I've been reading, reading the Bible a lot, but I always did. So I guess I'm, feeding my spirit with that, but feeding my mind, um, because my time has been extra limited, man. And, I had told you I was, listening to, meditation and Zen music a lot, during, hours of focus and during the work time. And I kind of recently start switching that out for audiobooks. I said it was going to be hard for me to try to get into reading books and things like that. So I switched it and I got into these audiobooks. So, instead of listening to the Zen music, I listened to the audiobooks. So I just finished Sun Tzu, Art of War, which I've read a few times over the year, but I just reread that, you know what I mean? And right now I'm reading or listening to it's called the Power of Positive Confrontation. It's about the skills you need to handle conflicts at work, at home, online, and in life. And so that's something that I've been, I just started listening to. So I'm about 5 or 6 chapters into that, you know what I mean, trying to realign myself as far as in the way that I handle some things, because I can be an avoider where I'm just like, all right, I'm not dealing with this. And I could just, you know what I mean? I could be super passive about it and I could be super aggressive about it. And none of those are actually healthy at all. So, finding the best path forward, I think is something that I'm working towards. So, yeah, that's what I'm on.
That's super dope. That's another one. We got what 3 books in that, you know what I'm saying? We all got to do some looking up to. What you got, Mo? What you eating?
Look, so like I mentioned last time, man, this time of year, man, for whatever reason, man, I kind of start getting away from kind of the academic stuff, and it's football season, and I've been kind of focused on that. But with that being said, so I'm not reading nearly as much as I usually do. But I was actually in a meeting today with the CEO, and she provided me this book, so I'm gonna check it out. It's called The Coaching Habit: Say Less, Ask More, and Change the Way You Lead Forever. So we'll see. I don't know if you guys can catch it, but yeah, I'll say
it's blurred out. Or
yeah, whatever. So I'm gonna catch that. But Mr. Chavis, when he was talking about his book, it made me like it sounded very similar to a book that I previously read. And I found it out. That's what I was looking at when I was looking for. And it's called The American Directory of Certified Uncle Toms, and it reminded me of that.
Wow. I gotta check that out.
Yeah. So
the directory.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a big time reader, and especially of stuff like that. But how do we know what people put in books are real and has some truth to it? That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's valid. I think you also have to do your own research. Yeah,
it's research. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's the thing. The Griff does in there. He annotates all his sources. He goes back into newspapers. Man, he talks about how he dug up, all these things to verify, because people will challenge you. Like, well, how's that true? Well, here it is.
Especially when you're going against the power structure.
Oh yeah.
If they say something about us, they just take it at face value. But when you're going against the power structure, they want you to they want you to cite your sources, and they almost want to see it in video. So
especially since they buried half of it.
Look. So I know we kind of going down a rabbit hole. I don't say so. I kind of got into that. I don't say I was 17 years old. I was doing a senior project on Egyptology. And I had a teacher. He almost didn't let me graduate because he said I couldn't cite sources, and I was just citing pseudoscience is what he called it.
Wow.
So
yeah, they don't want to believe it.
Right. People still talking about aliens built the pyramids because they can't believe a person of color did that. But I won't go too far. I ain't gonna go too far off the deep end with that. But so go ahead, keep the show rolling.
It's deep.
So y'all know I'm coach of the year or whatever, right? So rolling into football, I've been learning football at a rate that I've never learned football ever in my life. You know what I mean? It's relearning how to tackle, how to coach, how to talk, how to run plays. The game's changed so much. So just like you said, I've been so involved in the sport and I'm responsible for 22 little babies. and making sure they stay safe. I'm making sure their parents don't ever feel fear. Like I'm making sure, like, you know what I'm saying. So it's kind of like it's a huge lift to be like, this ain't baseball. That's baseball is easy to be like to kind of go and float around, and I know
football's a collision sport. Somebody can seriously get hurt.
Somebody will get hurt.
Somebody will get hurt. People get hurt. So you got to monitor like all the stuff that I had to go. I had to get certified in like CPR. I had to take all these heads up courses. I've been through so many training classes. It's crazy.
Oh man!
Do they still make you certified with what's it called, like USA Football, whatever?
Yeah, I got certified with USA Football. I got a certified with Gwinnett County. You know what I mean? I got
Act 33. Mr. Chambers probably know about that. You got to get Act 33 and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, it's a lot.
Yeah. So like having all these little labs in your hand, and you know what I'm saying, like everybody's submitting to the position. It ain't necessarily me, but everybody's like, look, you got my kid. Like he needs to be whole after practice. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
After these games. At the end of the season, I still need to have a whole kid. And they need to enjoy it and love it. This ain't the football we used to know where, you know what I'm saying, everybody just crack heads and it's over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, everybody's a hooper after that. You know what I'm saying?
One of the things I used to say, and it's crazy. My daughter's 15 now. I stopped coaching right before she was born. And I remember I used to always tell the parents, man, I'll make sure I send them home as healthy as you brought them to me.
Hey, that's what I say about my grandkids. I got 10, and I got 4 boys who I just had out camping this past week. And my wife, she's the one, she says, they're going back home the same way they came. Make sure these kids don't get hurt.
So I've been engulfed in football knowledge for the past month. So just trying to keep these boys safe. So that's all I've been really feeding my soul spirit. You know what though? I have been really getting back into the word again. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I said it before. Like I was reading Proverbs a little bit to kind of go through it with Kay, but the Proverbs it's a short book for real. It's not really.
Mm-hmm.
But even like listening to like preachers and stuff like that. Like I wasn't doing none of that. So I've been filling some space with that as well. You know, of course, you know, it's G. Craig Lewis, so that part hasn't changed.
Is his message still similar to how I remember it from when we was in college? Or has it changed?
No.
Because I would imagine it should have evolved.
It's well, no, I mean, that was a series. He don't talk about none of that.
Okay.
So the topics are his style is his style.
Okay, but that's the standard now. Because he was talking about like the evils of hip hop and stuff like that.
Oh he's
like that's the standard now. Like because it was it was starting to creep up then.
Yeah,
he was speaking about that, and like that's actually like the mainstream now. So I can only imagine what he would have to say about that.
He don't. So because it's like that, he don't speak about it at all.
Okay.
He's like, man, I talked about that stuff 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, I don't got no reason to talk about it. Go buy the DVD. Is what he be saying. Like we got new stuff to take over. So here's the fun question. Fun question of the day. If being a parent was in the Olympics, what events would they have? What you got, Mr. Chambers?
That's funny, man. I'm gonna start with spanking. Who can tear up their behind the best? That's just a joke. Ain't you
a liberal?
I'm not good for corporal punishment. Hey, let me tell you what, Kev, to your boys here. We were looking for a school for you at one time, and we went and looked at Imani Christian to get you into the school there. We got up there and they interviewed you, and then they told us. They said, we spank here, paddle. You said, hell no, I ain't going there. You was out. We could not convince you to go to that school.
I didn't know Imani Christian was out back then.
Yeah, when it started, back when Pastor Clay started it, I think it was up at the church at that time.
You know what it was though? It's not at the church anymore?
No, it has a school building up in East Hills.
It was at the old Zers.
Yeah, it was at the old Zers. But you know the thing about it, they didn't have a football team.
No, they didn't have that either.
So I was just like,
but it was the paddling. I know it was the paddling.
Well, you know what though? On that interview that we went up there, I almost got paddled because listen, I was there for a day. Y'all sent me up there for a day.
Yeah.
And, there was like dudes was like, don't get thrown into the box, right? And I was like, what's the box? So we're walking in the hallway and they had this spot on the wall that was like taped off, like it wasn't painted yet. So you know how like it was taped off with putty.
Okay.
So it looked like a box. So they had a game where they was throwing boys like they were like how you would push boys into the bush when you was walking. So like if you walk past this box, they would trip you and try to throw you into the box. So this day they warned me at lunch, was like, yeah, don't get thrown into the box. And I was like, what's the box? They were like, you'll see. So we're walking and we get to the box and somebody tries to throw me into the box and I just start throwing 3 dudes into the box. So they was like, wait, they was like, who was throwing people in the box? And they snitched on me. So they was going to paddle me, and I was just like, no, I ain't even signed up here yet. So when they came
on a visit,
me, on a visit, on a visit, them boys was testing me, talking about they gonna throw me into the box. I'm like, all right, y'all gonna see who going into this box.
Not today.
So yeah, that's the story behind that.
Yeah,
but yeah, did you name an event? Oh, you said paddling.
I said paddling. Yeah. See?
Hey, I got a.
Just as a joke. Just as a joke.
These guys is about to. I got a special guest for y'all.
These dudes, man.
What's up, Bert?
What's up, fellas?
All right. Here's my man.
Man, I ain't seen some of these faces in a long time.
Yeah, you probably know everybody on this panel. Well, of course you know everybody.
Mo, Leland, Mr. Tavis, how y'all doing?
What's up, my brother?
What up, though?
I'm blessed, fellas. How y'all been, man?
Man, just living the dream. The
Okay,
current question is, if parenting was in the Olympics, what events would they have?
Parenting?
Yeah.
Man, you know, I have that. My dad had the biggest hands in on the East Coast, so it had to be paddling, man. Paddling. Oh man, I only got hit one time. That's all I needed, man.
Nah, that's all it should take.
That's all it took. He had Hulk hands, so yeah, definitely. Fans, I had to go with it. Definitely probably swinging of the belt. Leland. No, Leland seen his grandma was undefeated. Leland's grandma was undefeated, man. So I know he know about the whoopings.
The Olympics.
What you got, Leifer? What event?
I think Mr. Wright took mine that change of diapers, man. You put that in the Olympics, boy. You'll see who got it. You gotta have the Vaseline in one hand, the diaper with the diaper cream in the other hand, and the powder in the other hand. And so,
yeah. Oh man.
What you got, Mo?
Look, the first thing that came to mind for me was curfew evasion. Like trying to get out that house when you look, man. Growing up, man, and having my curfew was 10, so the party wasn't starting so trying to get out. Oh man, so that'd have been the one for me for sure.
Trying to catch a kid getting in from curfew.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I'm probably gonna go with dad voice.
Dad voice.
The dad voice.
Yeah, you gotta perfect that.
Hey, like getting your kids in line based off your voice. Hey, what y'all doing up there? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would be an Olympic event, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So that was the fun question, man. Let's go on to the topic though, because we're gonna kind of get deep here, man. And do being an elitist have anything to do with your religion? What you got, Mr. Chavis?
Okay, you threw a little curve. Anything to do with your religion? I would say just off the cuff, yeah. If you're a religious person, it sets a tone for your character. So, that's my first thought in there. Now, where that takes you, That can vary because we all look at religion in our own way. Some people take it from a. This is one of the criticisms some people always give to Christianity. It's soft, it's humble, it's you know, uh, as opposed to an aggressive, something that's more aggressive there, like Islam. People consider Islam more of an aggressive religious, even though that may not be true. I'm not saying it is, but that's probably an American perspective there. But so when I look at a Malcolm, look at a Martin Luther King, I see a contrast there, and I think it does though set a tone for how you approach life and your mindset to anything. So yeah, it definitely has an effect. Y'all thinking, or did I go on mute?
You on mute.
Yeah,
Cam
he
on
on
mute.
mute. Yeah, Leifer, you up?
Yeah.
So that's a good question. So I think it can definitely, because I think a lot of people, especially those outside of the church, look at the church or people in the church members as an elitist group. You know, they kind of oftentimes uh, they find it hard to be able to, I guess, find commonality, because you have some people in the church who have this holier than now persona, and those who have um, been quote unquote delivered, and now they forgot them 20 years before that they've been sending, Sister Mary Clarence down there at the juke joint. And so I think it can, you can have an elitist persona, or that can come from your religious background or being a religious person. But it was funny, because when you said the topic last week, man, I started looking it up, because I'm like, what, an elitist? What the heck is this elitist thing? What does it mean in terms of what we're going through today, and in terms of current events and things like that. So, as I was looking it up, and I was trying to see, like, okay, well, what are these elitist things? And I'm thinking about all these the newfound billionaires, you know what I mean, from the entertainment world and things like that. And those people that I guess everybody is following or trying to emulate, and actually, I guess, swallowing or eating up everything that they say. And I'm just looking at that, man. Like, man, if I had a choice to be to be an elitist as a follower of Christ, or be an elitist as a follower of this billionaire propaganda, I would choose to follow Christ every day. But yeah, that I think you definitely can, and I think religion can definitely be uh, the cause of an elitist persona.
Mo.
So yeah, for sure. I mean, but with anything, any structure, there's going to be a hierarchy. So, and I don't know if y'all think that you are saying necessarily that it's a bad thing, but yeah, I mean, anything that there's a hierarchy. There's going to be superior. There's going to be people that are less than. There's people that are aspiring to get to the top. So, and definitely, church is one of those places. Within its walls, like there's people who feel they're, I guess, of a higher class than somebody else, and then obviously they look, and they can look at the same way for somebody outside, that they're less than, they're not as far on their walk or whatever. But I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. I just think that, I think it's just a level setting of that hierarchy of people. And I don't see it as a bad thing. But I know sometimes the connotation that being elitist is a bad thing. I don't necessarily see it that way. But anytime that you have a certain level of structure, there is going to be a pecking order, and it comes with elitism. So it is what it is.
But bro, I sometimes have seen in my journey the aspect of people being. I think the phrase that captures it best is holier than thou. And they know all the scripture, they know this, they know that, and I'm like, wow. And it's a turnoff for me, when I encounter people like that, and I just hey, have their way. But my main man, he's a Jehovah Witness, and he knows scripture, man. Boom, boom, boom. He throws it left and right. But I always challenge him. I say, according to the Bible, it says what 100 and I'm not good at quoting, but 126 people or something, 1,000 people go to heaven. And I said, if that number is accurate, then I might as well give up now, because I know my ass ain't one of those. I ain't reaching the top.
Said they hit their quota already, so I might as well just stop.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man. See, so actually, and I'm not necessarily the hugest religious person or whatever, but the one that I always talk about, I'd be like, hey, man, you know, in the Bible, it say don't follow false prophets. I always hit them with that one, but it's just one of those things that, I mean, you know, I just look at it as I'm aspiring to something. So yeah, man, I'm okay with it.
Got you.
What you got, Bert?
Repeat the question, man. I know y'all talking about elitists. I don't know if my stuff cut out or what, but I remember, I got the elitists. What were you? What was the main question?
Do elitists have anything to do with your religion? Being a elitist.
That's a good one. Well, I'm hearing you all you guys. I agree with all you guys. Mo basically, summed it up how I would sum it up, as far as the pecking order. My religious experience, man, my experience through churches, I've been through quite a few churches, but growing up, in the apostolic church, man, I done seen some stuff. And I'm not necessarily saying it in a negative light, but when you got some of those people, that I'm trying not to be mean, man. I really am. But Leland, I keep referring to Leland and Kev, especially growing up on our street. We had you had different. How can I explain it? Different ways of teaching the gospel, I should say. But I don't think being an elitist is necessarily I don't know how to say this, man. I'm trying to keep it PG.
No, don't go in.
But I just seen some people take it to the head, take it too far, in a sense. People in hierarchy just, do some things and get away with some stuff, and you be like, man, like, some people can take it too far, man, and they feel like they're above God, or sometimes they feel they're on the level, on that same level as God.
Level.
You know what I
mean? Yes.
And I've seen that, and I've seen people actually treat that person of, that pastor in a sense of as if they got to report and bow to that person. I don't want to sound uneducated or anything, but I'm just trying to be as nice as I can, man. And I definitely, I think sometimes people give them that power, and sometimes when they get that power, people don't know how to. They get that power, they don't know how to. They don't have. They abuse it. You know what I mean? And that's a sad thing. And a lot of times, what happens is you start to see your congregation stay the same. It never improves, never grows. And I've seen that. You know what I mean? And that's steered. I think in some cases, I look at my parents as a kid. And I'm like, why don't they never go to church? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? And I never was a judgmental person, but it was just like, as you grow and grow older and you start to realize what was going on, seeing and hearing the stories and stuff, I'm like, wow, yeah, I see why. You know what I mean? God can be in your home as well. You know what I mean? You don't always have to go to church in my eyes. You know what I mean? As long as you have a spiritual leader, you can learn the gospel as well as in your home as well. So, but a lot of times people abuse it. I don't want to keep rambling, man, but sometimes the leaders can take it too far.
So I definitely think that there is a sector of being a elitist tied to religion. You know what I'm saying? I think Mr. Chambers wrapped it up when he said the holier than thou thing, right? Like, you're just it's that smug behavior. That kind of like, it's kind of like you take it back to like the Pharisees and how they would talk to people. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like watching Robin Hood and y'all remember what was wasn't the king, was one of the pastors or something that was taking money. There was Friar Tuck, he was the good one, but there was another like Catholic guy who was in the part of taking money from the in the tax dollars and that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely goes too far, and you got these mishaps, like with the Eddie Long situations or the TD Jakes or that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That can fly way off the rails.
Yeah, they buying jets and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with buying a jet if it's used in the right manner. I don't think that's the negative part about it. But
right manner. Yeah, I agree with that.
But I think there is a portion of it, like, if that's everybody's jet and it ain't your jet, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can understand that. Like, you taking the whole congregation
on the jet. Everybody gets the ride.
Yeah, if everybody's getting a ride, then you know what I mean?
Y'all know better than that.
But I mean, we know that's not what's happening. But if everybody
let them on the plane, man.
So, did you hear that? I can't remember his name, and it was one of those white big mega church pastors, and he had a big campaign to get a jet or whatever. And when he was asked by a reporter or something, why he doesn't use the plane to help people, whatever, he said, well, I can't have all those evil spirits in the same plane with me attacking me. Like, this is something he said out loud. So, if that was, and I think that's the issue. When I was looking it up, what the term elitist and what it connotates is, like, believing that you are superior to somebody, which ultimately means that somebody is inferior. So if you're looking at this at the elitist, especially in the church hierarchy or in religion or whatever, and then they are supposed to be, as Mr. Chavis said, holier than thou, then they're looking at everybody else. They're looking at the whole congregation as inferior. And that's where I think it gets dangerous, because then that's where it starts to become a cult. These people are following and worshiping this person like they are, the
Jim
second
Jones.
coming of Christ. Yeah, you know what I mean? Hey, Donald Trump, they are following this dude. He can't say no wrong. It's crazy. But yeah, I think that's where the elitist ideology can become very dangerous.
Yeah, and in any power structure, you face that challenge. Like, how does a person handle success, power, and so yeah, they may be a great preacher, but how did he treat others? What's the example that you want people to follow? And if you separate yourself as though you're untouchable, then I don't want to be there.
Do your net worth? Oh, go ahead.
My bad, Kev. But what I heard, and I don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure I think it was Joel Osteen.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess there was the floods were going on in Houston.
Yes, sir.
And the floods were the water was rising, and his church is huge, and they were asking him to open his doors up for the public, for people to come in, and he was like, nah.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, nah, I ain't messing up my stuff.
Have you ever been to Houston?
Yep.
No, I haven't. I've never been to Houston.
Mo, you've seen it before. The size of this man's church,
it's crazy,
is the size of a high school. It's bigger than what he had. I lied.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, it could have been like, I almost get it, but when there's lives at stake, I don't say it could have ended up like the Superdome down in New Orleans, stuff like that, and liabilities. But at what point do you?
It was pretty bad, but
yeah.
But you get that much money. I mean, the thing is, if you have that much faith in what you know what I mean, I'm not calling him out. I'm not challenging his faith, but if you're a man of God,
call him out. Call him out.
If you're a man of God, right? If you're a man of God, and I know how I was raised. If my house is open,
you do for others,
and I can save some life.
Yeah.
If I can save a life, I'm bringing them in. I don't care if we packed in there, but people are dying, and you saying no. These people, the reason why you got this money is because of these people.
Those people, it wasn't his money.
I mean? So let's just be real. You're gonna open these doors. God gonna give it back. You're gonna get it back tenfold.
Yep. For real.
So, that's where it's at.
So as we were talking about this, man, I thought of a quote that I heard about years ago, man. I can't remember who who's credited with, but it says something along the lines of absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if you give people too much power, man, it's hard to, stay balanced and not abuse it. So it takes a special kind of person.
I was watching this documentary. It was talking about all these great men, politicians mostly, but I think it even goes beyond. It goes to pastors and a whole bit. They started off humble. They started off as hard workers, but they got to the power. They got to the point where, everybody was shouting out their names and giving them creds. And some of them, you guys will probably know the names. One dude, he was like fighting against prostitution a whole bit. And guess what he did? He slept with a prostitute and got caught. He was prosecuting everybody. He was one of the chief prosecutors. Probably was going to be governor of New York at one point, and he got caught. So many people get to the point of power, and then the next thing they want, and I don't care how nerdy they are or whatever, they want, sorry, Jim, but they want some pussy to show that they powerful. Donald Trump. I mean, that's like the one dude, the governor, he went missing for days, and they found out that he was out. They said that somebody lied and said he was hiking. He wasn't hiking. He was out with his mistress on a vacation, and they busted him. People, I mean, it's amazing how many people, for the sake of hooking up with a woman, will just sell out their soul. Power.
Oh, that's legit.
That's power.
So I mean,
Bill Clinton.
Power, right?
Bill Clinton.
The question is, do your net worth have anything to do with you being an elitist? How much money do you have to even consider yourself an elitist?
Ooh,
that's
money.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. Well, today's standard ain't $1 million. I think we know that. You got to be talking about $1 billion to be in the club. You got to be somewhere in there. And when you start comparing some of the big, there's another group where there's like guys got $400 billion. I'm like, wait a minute, what they do with all this money? Yeah, that's a whole separation, man. So it's $1 billion on up.
Straight Billy. What you got, Lee? What you think the net value is of an elitist?
It's definitely high, and I think right now, because it's the most talked about thing, it's $1 billion. But those aren't even. I don't even know that those might be like lower tier elitists, because like those that just got supreme fuck you money. It's like, man, you see those, the Saudi oil money, and you know what I mean, like and you see, some of this older money that's getting close to $1 trillion, like that's super money. Like that moves every chess piece on the board. Like a lot of these people we see, they're just pawns. It look like they got a lot of money, they're flossing and whatever, and they're not in the elites. They're pawns. You know what I mean? The people who got the real money, and like what he said, $1 billion, man. I'm gonna say, to really be an elitist, you know what I mean, you probably got to have about 5 to 10 billion. You know what I mean? 5 to 10 billion and up. To really have a say so, because if you just got 1 billion, you make one wrong transaction and you're at 500 million quick.
Back in the millions,
you know what I mean? Yeah, you back at 500 million real quick. So you got to have a little bit more buffer room to be able to do that. But man, even if you look at, and that's my man, you know what I mean? So all power to him. I ain't saying nothing bad about him. But Braun, you know what I mean? He's up there over $1 billion right now. You know what I mean? The power that he wields in the NBA to be able to move things. And even if he doesn't control everything, because those owners have way more money than he does, he still has influence. And so I think, man, you got to have those upward billions in order to be probably considered an elitist. Now, I say that, but then I guess there's levels to it, to the elitists, because whoever is the elite group is probably based on those who aren't elite. So you got these different groups who are worshiping these different levels. You got, thousandaires worshiping the millionaires worshiping the multimillionaires, the multimillionaires worshiping the billionaires. So I guess there's tiers to the elitist section, but man, like the true power is those cats that you probably don't even see. You know what I mean? Moving all the pieces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Watching everybody else get blamed.
So, and that was actually what I was going to say. I was going to say there's levels to this. This is definitely a nuanced conversation, man. I like, just for the simple fact of, and we talking 1% talking about Billy's but I mean, the simple fact that, the fact that I remember, like, people start treating me different. Like, just once you get a degree, you're acting different or whatever. Like, people, like, come on, man. Y'all know where I come from. Not at all. But I mean, if money don't change, you ain't made enough. So, when you know better, you do better. So I think a lot of that, it comes with it. Now, elitist, like I said, there's levels to it. But at the same time, it's going back to the whole, how we say her name? Kamala. So Kamala, with her deal, like right now, I guess the conversation is with the Divine Nine and the Greeks or whatever. And there's the conversation where the Greeks and they're like, oh, we got to stroll to the polls and stuff like that. And people that aren't Greek are saying, oh, this is very elitism and this is very talented 10th sounding conversations. But even though and sometimes it could be a good thing, but I always look at it as aspirational because somebody only has the power over you that you give them. So if you're like sitting here being like, oh, well, if you look at them as being above you and it's aspirational, it's because you put yourself under them. And that's the part that I always think about when people say that, oh, that's the elites. Well, it's because you put yourself under them. And I think that's where that kind of stuff starts to come into play for sure. So, there's levels to this. Like, you could consider yourself be considered an elitist and you could be a thousandaire just because there's somebody, back in the trenches that don't have that.
You don't think somebody put you under them the other way around? And it'd be
they could, but possibly in certain scenarios. But if you like, so let's say you at work and there's certain construct, but if you decide to move yourself from that construct, you could potentially not be under them. So like, for example, you lift a bunch of weights and the CEO of your company was like, man, I'll fire you right now, blah, 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 blah. And you like, yeah, you tough here, but if we go out to the parking lot, are you above me there? So, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's every dog has their day. So, and everybody has, God gave us all different talents and different strengths. So it's all dependent on where you subscribe to put yourself. And if you put yourself in a place where you're valued less than that person, yeah, you can be inferior to that person.
What you got, Bert?
Man, listen. A lot of these, like Leland said, a lot of these people we look at on TV or on Instagram, Facebook. A lot of these cats are pawns, man. There's people behind the scenes that got just making so much money they can't even count, man. And we're not even, we stand, if we just talking about within the country, but if we go into other countries, the Saudis, and there's people in Africa, and Africans got a lot of money too. They got Africa got more resources than anybody. So there's some people within that country that's making some of the billionaires here in the States look like people on the street. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's levels to it, like y'all said, man. We all grew up in the hood, man, and we seen people that we thought had money and they had power, and there was people that they really weren't, you know what I mean? Yeah. Back in the day, we was looking at boys driving around in cars and they was hustling, and we was like, wow, man, I can't wait to get older. And we gave them power. We not necessarily just like it was a fear, but we was like, they're elite. They got it. Meanwhile, our parents was making more than them. You know what I mean? So it's just like y'all said, man, everybody's point, Leland and Mo, Mr. Chavez, everybody's right, man. There's just levels to this, man.
That's going right into this next question, too, beautifully. How do people from the lower class get an elitist mind frame? That's really what's going on right now.
Yeah.
How do people that's, come from lower class end up with this elitist mind frame? I ain't talking about Billy's. I'm talking about people we know, we work with day to day. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Particularly black men. Black women, too. How are black people becoming such elitists? What you got, Mr. Chavez?
Yeah, that's where I think that piece is deep there. That mindset, sometimes it's taught. Parents who raise you just to believe that you are all that. And I'm not necessarily knocking it, because whether it's athletics, whether it's education, you really got to believe in yourself to achieve. I'll tell you one, Swin Cash. Reading her bio and her story, her mother just instilled to her, very humble, just, you are the best. You work hard, you will be the best. And she just supported it. If you knew the Cash family, you knew they were all like that. I grew up with them. But I just love how she credits her mom to giving her that winning mentality. And she's very humble about it, but I know in Swin's mind, she's like played that game like, I am the best, and didn't step off of that. And so, and when you say poor, we were all poor. We ain't know it. We we didn't care. It wasn't about dollars. We got fed. That was the most important. We got housed and clothes. But the way she approached life and her determination, yeah, she made herself and her family, I'll credit them, into an elitist status. Yeah, that's the example I give. So yeah, you can rise up above your economic situation and put yourself into a class of the elite.
Well, would you call her an elitist though?
Well, I from that perspective, that
In her mind,
in her mind, it's a competitive, humble. Like I said, I see two types of leaders. Ones that say you don't belong up here with me. Others that say I belong. I am. I'm setting the uh, mark. So yeah, elitist. When I looked at that, when you threw the subject out, I said, let me really hone in on the definition. And at first I was kind of like, ooh, elitist. And then I started saying, no, it's a mindset that says I'm going to be the best at whatever I do. Now, when you get there, or as you get there, it doesn't have to be exclusionary. It doesn't have to be, although many do. I think it'd be, you reach back and you pull somebody back up there to be up there with you, and you still in that club.
Elitists don't pull. They don't
Well,
pull people with them.
you don't think they do?
Nah.
No, that's not true, man. That's not true.
I think you can.
I don't think elitists do that though.
Like I said, I think there's two classes that separate, and there are people who are there, and they're very charitable, humbling.
They don't have an elitist mind frame, I would argue.
They credit God. They credit God at the same time, but they work to say, I am the best. And that's not bragging. I don't think that it can be, but it can be just, hey, I earned this.
What you got, Lee?
So I was thinking the thought as you guys were thinking. So, and I don't know if it's a thing or not, but maybe we should make it a thing. So I think there might be a difference between a self-expressed elitist and I guess a group hierarchy prompted elitist. Somebody who says, oh, I made all this money, I did all this, I'm the crap, and you guys are nothing. And then people who assume that this person is whatever because they got a little bit more than they are, or they seem to have a little bit more and seem to have their stuff put together. So I think there could be a difference there, because that self-proclaimed elitist is probably looking at everybody under him as inferior, him or her looking at them as inferior, where that this person, unbeknownst to themselves, who's being propped up in this position by those who perceive him to have more, might be considered an elitist too. But I'll get to the question. So, it's funny because I always look at things, in the Black community, and you know how I feel about the Black community. I look at it in a broader scope. I don't look at it as just, Blacks in America. I look at it in a broader scope, Blacks all over the world, because, the Blacks were all over the world before Columbus. And then once Columbus came, Columbus dropped some more Blacks off all over the world. So I look at it in that scope. But, I think, when folks are especially in an impoverished area or neighborhood, folks are in that category that I said, where they are being propped up by others who perceive them to be in a certain light, because maybe they're wearing the newest Jordans, or they always stay fly, or they got the nicest cars, or they always prop themselves up to look a certain way or put on a certain appearance. And I think that people put that in their heads, and then because it's in their heads, they start to internalize that, and then they start to act out that. And I think that's where a lot of that elitist mindset comes into the Black community, is from others that perceive folks to have more than them, and then they want them to have, and then they covet what they have, and they start propping them up on this pedestal. But I also think it can come from, now, what do you say, Black women in the community, they're becoming way more educated, whatever that education is, whether that's the arts or whatever it is. They're becoming way more educated at a higher rate and a faster rate than Black men in America, which is creating a whole nother elitist group amongst Black women who are propping themselves up above Black men in society. So I think there's different ranges of it, and there's different reasons why, but I think those are a couple of reasons why there's this elitist mentality amongst the Black community.
Mo.
Look, man. I've had so many thoughts, man, since you guys were kind of doing the thing. So let's hit the question first. So how can you, I guess, get to the elitist mark if you were, I guess, quote unquote, in theory prior?
How do you develop this elitist mind frame? Being from
so three things come to mind for me. It was grit, discipline, and accountability. So those were the three things that I thought of when I was thinking about how to get to an elite status. Because you're going to have to be disciplined, and you're going to have to, give up some stuff in order to get to where you want to go. So that was the first thing that kind of came to my mind. And then, like, as far as and truth be told, like, this is kind of a fourth thing, but like, you're going to have to be coachable, because no one got where they ultimately ended up by themselves. I know there's it's always in vogue for people to say, oh, I'm self-made. No one's self-made. Like, you had some help, you had some mentorship, you had something, I don't even necessarily believe in luck. Like, you just had some coincidence or some opportunities that other people didn't have a lot of times. And for all of us, especially like if you were in sports, trust me, man, there's plenty of dudes that never got the opportunity we got. They might have been better than us, but sometimes it's just a coincidence, or it's just a opportunity that you were afforded that other people weren't. But generally, kind of the two that to me always stand out is kind of the discipline and the grit. And actually, me and Ken was talking about it earlier today. That grit, I was like, I don't know how to coach that. I don't know how to teach that. Like, I remember growing up, like in football, the coach would always say, I can't teach hard. But so it's one of those things to where that grit, generally in corporate America, they call it mental toughness. So having that mental toughness is being able to persevere through adversity and being able to still accomplish whatever the goal was. So a lot of times I think those are the three components that actually make that up. And, I know it's kind of going to be a theme for me throughout the show. Like, I don't necessarily see being elitist or elitism is a bad thing, because I see it as aspirational. But obviously too much of anything can be bad. But with that being said, as long as you have those three components, I think that's that'll at least put you on the right trajectory. That doesn't assure you anything, but it'll put you in the right vicinity, in the right direction to actually get where you want to be, if elite is where you want to go.
I like that. Yeah.
What you got, Bert? how do people get, develop a mindset of, you got
well,
it?
I think, yeah, no, I think, and I always use, what we went through and we seen in our community, man. But I think what happens with people becoming, an elitist, I think what happens is they set their ceiling at a certain, they're around a certain group, so they set their ceiling to a certain height. And whenever they get to that height, they're looking down on the group that they're usually around most of the time. So whenever they reach that height, they're looking down at that group, and everything above them is non-existent in a sense. So they're like, damn, you know what? I'm top. I'm the baddest dude in Swissvale. I'm just using our, what I mean? I'm top dog. Ain't nobody driving around what I'm driving around. My house is better than everybody's house. You know what I mean? But now, in a sense, now you got social media. Our community is social media is controlling. I mean, everything you see is Black culture. If you go on Instagram or Facebook right now, everything is Black culture. So, there's just levels to it, man, and that's not necessarily a bad thing or having an elitist mindset, because you are, like Mo said, grit. You got to have that grit. You got to have that hustle, that grind, and we all can. You could put people in certain categories. We know, and we personally know, or we heard about. It's not necessarily a negative thing, but people set their ceilings at it. Whether it's your ceiling, whether it's the sky, whatever it may be. There's different levels to it, man. And I think in our community, whenever you reach that certain height where you think you got that top, I think anything above you is non-existent. You're not even worried about that in a sense. You know what I mean? I think you just feel that you're, in a sense, I don't want to say invincible, but you're complacent where you at, and you have that mindset to where you're like, man, everything below me, I basically can have anything that y'all have. They want, I got it. I can control. You know what I mean? But like I said, if you use it as in a negative light, then it's definitely frowned upon. But to get there, you're going to have to grind, and it's not given to you.
And it's continuous. Can I sidebar that? It's continuous. You don't just get there usually and stay there. You got to keep working towards that, because there's always appears to be someone. I saw this on a documentary about billionaires and millionaires, all the Gettys and whole bit. Someone's always willing to take your place. So it's a continuous struggle. It's a continuous. I don't know if I want to be in that category. You got to put that grind in every single day, or you may lose it.
You're a marked man whenever you are. You're marked. So a lot comes with it. And it depends on the lifestyle that you have. It could be a negative thing. Then you watching your back. You know what I mean. You watching your back for somebody to take you out, or
there's a lot of haters out there.
Yeah. Oh, it gets serious. It comes with the territory. So you're going to be an elitist. It comes. Somebody's always gunning for your position. Whether it's athletics, if you're the elitist in athletics, or you out there on the street grinding, it's a lot to come with it.
Yeah, I think of the shit that Serena, Simone Biles, and all those sisters are going through, and even LeBron, man, he takes a punishment on the social media. They want to tear you down.
So I'll say this, right? I think the elitist mind frame, a lot of people develop it out of protection, right? I think people work hard, and we have this idea to want to save everybody. You know what I'm saying? Save our community, save our family, and they have these big hearts, and then realize like people are taking advantage of me every chance they get. You know what I'm saying? So they start protecting themselves and become stingy, and start seeing people in a negative light of, oh, these people don't want to work. These people just want handouts. I'm gonna protect mine, right? And then they get around other people like that because they've made it to a certain, they made it, their social circle has changed. And once they get around a new social circle, they start picking up other leaders. So it's like the talented 10th, right? Where and they're like, well, now that you've made it here, you're like us now. You know what I'm saying? So there's this Leaf, I know you watch it, Warrior, where there was this Irish guy fighting for, you know, his Irish people, and there's this rich guy who's building the railroads, right? And they're trying to work on some labor situation, and the rich guy brings the Irish leader and says, "Hey, you one of us now. You know what I'm saying? You got to let some of them people go." And dude stayed true to his people. Was like, "No, I ain't letting my people go." But I think a lot of people bite that apple and take on those temptations and be like, "Well, yeah, I'm here with you now, so forget anybody else before." But I think also, it's like I said, it's out of protection. It's from being used and taken advantage of, and you become this elitist and stingy and not sharing because you don't want, because you understand that people are taking advantage of you, and it's the people that you initially set out to help, and now you end up turning your back on them. I think that's what's going on a lot politically, is that especially in the Black community, we get a 6-figure job, change the location where we live, and now we're talking a different game than where we started out from. Everybody can have free education. Why wouldn't you want to give everybody free education? Now, when you get there and you pay off your school debt, I paid off my school debt.
Yeah.
They should be forced to pay off theirs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's elitism in that. You know what I'm saying? Where, oh, I was able to do it, you should be able to do it. It's to pull yourself up by the bootstraps because I did it, kind of thing. And you know that's not where we started. It started out like I think we all should kind of be equal. And the second to note is I think you can teach grit, but you know what I'm saying? Like grit is built over making a decision to be brave every time you do it and finish what you start. And that alone will build grit. I was listening to a guy earlier. He does CrossFit. And he was like, I do these stupid workouts. I know it doesn't train me for football. He's a guy who plays in the NFL. He's like, I know this CrossFit stuff doesn't train me for football, but it's because I do this stuff every day that seems retarded or it seems monotonous. You know what I'm saying? I know it'll get me through anything that football has to offer me. So he's built that grit based on what he's put himself through, and can look back and say, hey, I got the will, I got the determination to be strong enough to get through anything life throws at me. But
I was watching a movie ATL the other day with my kids, my boys, and you know, I'm sure y'all seen ATL with T.I. back in the day with he was roller skating and stuff. But nonetheless, the dad of Nunu's dad, if y'all remember how he was the the well-off brother who left the hood and he was doing well, had a mansion in the hills, and basically forgot where he come from. You know what I mean? And he was definitely an elitist. He had an elitist mindset. If y'all remember, I don't know if y'all remember that movie, but he definitely had the elitist mindset to where he had at the end he had to realize, like, yeah, I forgot where I came from. Because he didn't even want to help. Remember, he changed his mind on helping the young brother. Remember?
Yeah, out at the country club, like, oh, you from over there?
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah,
I'm good. You know what I mean? He was like, no, I don't want nobody to share the same success story that I had. In a sense, you know what I mean? He was like, I see, he didn't even want to help the brother out. You know what I mean? Brother come from the same hood he come from, but he was like, there's a whole lot of things you could think like, well, maybe he ain't want to help him because he's seen himself in that kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I think it's I don't want to help because I've been burned by them people too often.
And it could be so, like this, man, this actually brings me back to a book. And as y'all were talking, it made me like find the book real quick. Man, this book was written, I want to say in the 1930s by Carter G. Woodson. It was called The Miseducation of the Negro. Mm-hmm. So I reread it like every 3-4 years to make sure I don't forget. Because like once you start getting in like certain circles or whatever, it's easy to be like, oh, they're lazy down there. Like, no. Like somebody helped me. Somebody had patience with me until I figured it out. So I think that's the most important part, is having patience with people and understanding they're not always going to get it the first time. You didn't probably get it the first time. So that's the biggest part that I always think about when it comes to kind of this elitist conversation. And truth be told, I mean, just being very transparent, sometimes I have survivor's remorse. You know what I mean? Like I always think about, man, I could be doing more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like So and that's just being transparent. So
Hey, you mentioned a book. Have you brothers read The Other Westmore?
I have not.
Okay, Governor Westmore wrote a deep book. I shared this book with my nephews and stuff. I want to say so. The what the story is really about in the short span is Westmore. He went to West Point and all that. You know, a military grad school, college. He brilliant. He read in the newspaper one day while he was away. He's from Baltimore. That a Westmore was put in jail for a murder. And when people started calling, said, Wes, was that you? He said, man, that ain't me. Who they talking about? And the guy lived within blocks from where he grew up, and he never knew the guy. And his curiosity made him go meet up with this brother in jail and find out his story. And, you know, it's an interesting read. And basically, what he says is, we were just like 6 degrees of separation. That could have been me. That's why I like Westmore. He seems he's reached a status in life that is special, and everybody he may be president one day, but I don't think this brother is leaving people behind. He truly thinks about that could have been me, only but for the grace of God, because they had so many similarities, and it was just by chance that their lives took different paths. Now he worked hard. He put grit into it a whole bit, but life circumstances sometimes overrides all that.
Mm,
It
sure.
can override it all. Just one trip, one little boo boo mistake.
Especially for us,
Yes,
coming
that's
where we come
exact.
from.
Yes, that is.
Yeah,
That's
one decision could change everything.
Yo, you
mm,
want to hear a funny? Not funny. I was impacted hard by the what is it, Antoine Rose situation.
yeah.
I was impacted hard by that because just the way it happened.
Mm,
I was in that same situation with y'all remember Baxter?
mm. Trying to think. No.
He used to his sister could hoop real good. I don't want to put too much, but he used to be down on Collingwood. He used to run track. You remember? Y'all gotta remember him.
Mm,
He lived right there by Collingwood. You remember what I'm talking about?
I know you talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
One day he took the keys to his mom's whip, came and picked me up. We joyriding. I didn't know, but we joyriding. Mom reported the car stolen. He parks. Cops pull up. I dart. I ran through the cut. You know how we got them alleys, right here on Leaford's grandma's porch. And I went straight there, laid down on the porch, and watched them ride past me. But I ran straight through the alley. That was the same thing it looked like. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
So that could have been me in that same situation. When I seen it, I said, "Oh my gosh,
Change your whole life.
that could have I did that." And they could, you know what I mean? So when y'all bring that up, man, it just brings back all those different opportunities that we were lucky, but it shouldn't have been. I mean, we shouldn't have to be lucky at the same
Blessed.
time.
Yeah.
We were blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were blessed. We had folks praying for us because it could have went the other way, man. I look at that all the time. I think about Omar like that. I don't know why
Still there.
he plays in my mind every day. Like Omar plays in my mind because I remember him riding that BMX bike around all like everywhere, and then you know
No,
he
I
not
know.
here
I was
with
with
us.
him I was with
He
him
not
every
here with
day.
us.
The
Yeah,
healthy
that
speed.
blows my mind. Like there's a lot of instances like that with folks that we grew up with, man. They didn't even make it to 18. You know what I mean? So
But you
Yeah.
know what's crazy about that Omar situation, and what's crazy is eerie as it is, man. My mom was like, she kept telling me for weeks, and Omar, me and Omar was best friends. We with each other every day. But she was like, you gotta stay away from Omar. I'm like, man, I ain't staying away from Omar. That's my boy. She was like, I was like, can Omar stay? I'll never forget. I was like, can O stay tonight, mom? She was like, nope. She's
Wow.
like, no, Omar don't no. Omar, you gotta go home, babe. Omar goes home. So weeks leading up to that, Lee, she I guess he kept carrying a BB gun around. He was carrying a BB gun around. And I'm like, oh man, he's robbing people with a BB gun. You know what I mean? And I just seen it, you know, man, my mom seen something. I'm like, something ain't right. He's like leading, he's going the wrong direction. You know what I mean? He's just going the wrong direction. And one thing led to another, man. You know, y'all know the story. And you know, I remember my mom paging me. I was up North Braddock, and my pager kept going off. I'm like, what's going on? I call her and she said, baby, they found Omar up in the trails. But yeah, Lee, was it, you know, there's so many stories, Lee. We could, you know, Mo, Kev, we could sit here and probably talk for another 4 hours talking about people we lost growing up with, man. But Leland said one thing for sure, and I agree with him. He said somebody was praying for us. And I could go to each one of y'all's picture and say, we had an elder, somebody in our family that prayed hard for us every night, man. Because we all been in situations, scenarios that God allowed us to come out scotch-free.
Yep.
You know, Leland, we seen Leland. Leland was on there close. You know what I mean? Leland went through it. You know what I mean? For him to go through what he went through, if you don't believe in God, just you don't believe in God, just go look at Leland's story, man. Leland is true testament to what, you know what I mean, what God can do, man. And but you know, it's a true blessing, Leland, for sure, man.
Well, ask Trump.
You know, I only like to keep y'all for an hour. You know what I'm saying? We out 120, man. This is a great conversation. Hey, I appreciate you know, Jim, you coming on.
Yeah, man, my honor. Thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate you stepping on, man. A lot of times we call out your dad, yo, and just
haven't been able to get Dr. Burke, man. I've been trying for about a year and a half.
Really?
Trying to get Dr. Burke.
He's coming up. He's coming up a couple weeks, man. I'll jump on with him. I'll get him on for y'all, man. Because he I'm gonna tell you right now, Mr. Chafers will tell you he gonna cry because he gonna see y'all's face and you know what I mean. You better get ready to talk for 2 hours because he gonna go in, man.
So Kev. So we talking about how we hand it down and hand off. You know, I was honored to be in your life there. I don't know if you brothers would know this story. Marcus knows. Dr. Berkeley was my 5th grade teacher. Okay, so when he got up out of 5th, that was his first job, teaching me. And we was all pretty much all black school over there in McKeesport. And now here's the thing. From there on, when I get to Pitt, guess who my counselor is there? Dr. Berkeley. Okay? Then, when I get my first job in education, the first person who again mentored me and supported me at Woodland Hills High School, not high school, he was at Rankin then.
He was at Rankin.
Dr. Burke, he taught my kids. This man has been through my life like no other. He was the closest my father to me. So we all get that opportunity somewhere along the line to influence a life. And I thank that man to this day. He would come home after school. He would walk home with us. He'd tell my mom he need to study. And then he played baseball with us for about an hour before he went home. He was that type of dude, man. I'll be indebted to him forever. That's an elite brother who does it right. He's separate from others.
Absolutely. And like I
said, back, I know you want to end it, but let me put this here, because if you go back and watch some of our early episodes, man, we used to talk about Dr. Burke heavy because like he was a major influence in all of our lives. Like he was like a neighborhood dad. Like I know he's your dad. We still in him because like he was a neighborhood dad. He was around, you know, some of us ain't have dads, or some of us had dads that was out working or doing whatever, and he was always there for everything. You know what I mean? So we talked about him heavy in early episodes and gave him credit for a lot, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to have him on a couple of the episodes, you know, to get his input because we respect him so much. But yeah, man, definitely, man, Dr. Burke, man, he's the man for sure.
The Black Dick Clark, I say.
I appreciate y'all dudes, man, and you know, he would do it over again. That's the one thing about him, man. You know what I mean? As you get older, and I know I ain't trying to whole drive long. But as you get older, you start to, you start to look back on things and see, how he moved and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I remember him giving my Jordans up. I got a brand new pair of Jordans, and they disappeared one day. I woke up for school, I'm about to put my Jordans on, and my mom's shaking her head. I'm like, Mom, I can't find my shoes. She just keeps shaking her head. I'm like, I can't find my shoes. So I go to school. She's like, just put them other shoes on. I go to school the whole day. I'm like, I don't know where my Jordans are. So I come home, and my dad was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I can't find my Jordans. He was like, sit down. I was like, what's up? He was like, sit down. I was like, I can't find my Jordans, Dad. He was like, I know where your Jordans are. I was like, where they at? He said, I'm gonna take you to school with me. I'll show you where. I'm like, take me to school. So he takes me out to Dixon. I'm at Dixon at the time. He takes me, comes get me half day. I go to Rankin School, and I'm sitting in his office. And now by this time, I forgot about the Jordans. But the little dude comes in the office, and little dude got my Jordans on, right? So I'm like, I ain't say nothing. You know what I mean? My dad was like, hey, Mark, this is so and so. This is the little boy you gave your Jordans to, right? So I'm like, wow, like, whoa, like, he's like, yeah, I said, and then my dad picks up his shoes that he had on, holds all through. So I learned the lesson right there, man. I was like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's just like, now I'm a counselor out of school. So now I'm doing his work. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I used to question a whole lot of things that he did. I was jealous on some of the relationships he had with kids. You'd be like, why is he giving that kid that? Why are you doing that? Of course, you're gonna be like that with your dad. But man,
we're
I
all
learned so
part of
much
his
from that
legacy.
dude.
Yo, you know what's crazy that you just said that? My son says that all the time. Oh, I like another kid on the team better than I like him. He says it all the time. Every time I'm like giving big ups to another kid, or I'm loving on another kid, or he used to say it all the time. Like he would come home crying, like, Daddy likes that kid better than me. And like Lindy would sit him down and be like, no, that's not it. He knows that kid needs XYZ, blah, blah, blah.
Need a little bit more. My dad always said it. That boy need a little bit more hugging.
Yo, so here's one thing about it though, is now when he sees me hugging other kids or giving attention to other kids, he comes and chimes in and supports it. It's like, oh, my dad loves you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've seen that shift, but from like 4 to 5, like from the time he started ball into like right now, like there was a time where he was just like, oh, he likes these other kids more than me, just because I'm coaching them up, talking to them. But of course, as dads coaching our kids, we're a little bit harder, a little bit tougher. Hey, you better not cry. You got to be. But we're teaching different lessons to our boys.
Yeah.
Opposed to what other kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, hey, you got to be a leader. You got to do this. You got to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not, you're supposed to be happy about scoring, but celebrate with your teammate. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm teaching those lessons to him opposed to when other kids do something not as good as what he's doing. He's like, well, wait a minute. I do that all day. And I'm like, it ain't about that. That kid needs a different kind of support. So, yeah, it's a similar story, bro.
Oh, indeed. That is good.
Y'all want to give any more flowers, or can I end it?
I'm gonna give y'all flowers, man. I'm just proud of y'all, man. You know what I mean? I sit and I've watched a lot of y'all shows, man, in the dialect that y'all spitting, man. I'm proud of you, brothers, man. Mr. Chavis, I always tip my hat off. I give you flowers. You always been a big role model for us, man, growing up. But these young guys, these guys right here,
yep.
Mo, Kev, Leland, I love you dudes, man. If you ever need anything, I'll be reaching out to y'all too, man. I'm getting ready to start. I'm gonna start my podcast back up too, so I'll be reaching out to you fellas.
Hey,
man.
Any of us is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You already know we're there for you. That's funny that it came full circle. You didn't even know Mr. Chavis was gonna be on.
Nah, I didn't. I had Mr. Chavis on. I had Mr. Chavis on our show, so it was dope, man.
It was an honor, man.
Yeah,
I love what
you.
I love what you young brothers are doing. It's inspirational, man. It keeps me alive, keeps me encouraged to know that the mission keeps going on. You guys are doing it right, man. I'm proud of y'all.
Appreciate
y'all
you,
dudes
man.
are great, man. I love y'all dudes, man. Bottom of my heart, man.
Honey. Yeah.
And
big love.
We out.
All right now. Y'all take care.